Chiro Hustle. Sit back and learn from the greatest influencers in the profession on the world's #1 chiropractic podcast. Before we dive into this powerful episode, please remember to subscribe to our channels and to give us a 5-star rating on iTunes to continue hustling. This episode is sponsored by Imaging Services, Chiro Health U.S.A, Chiro Moguls, Pure Chiro Notes, Titronics, Sherman College of Chiropractic, New Patients in a Box, the Influencer Authority Podcast Training, Mango Voice, Life Chiropractic College West, and M-Sculpt. Let's hustle.
Hey guys, welcome to episode 470 of the Chiro Hustle podcast. I'm your producer, Luke Millette, and here's your host, James Chester.
So today we have the opportunity of interviewing Dr. Liam Schubel. And if you want to fall back in love with chiropractic, stay tuned. Welcome back. This is another episode of the Chiro Hustle podcast. Today I have Liam Schubel coming on, one of my favorite humans on planet Earth. It's an honor. We were reminiscing quite a bit here about when we first met each other, how he's getting chiropractic more mainstream worldwide, specifically Latin America. But before we jump into this episode today, I want to let everybody know the big why. Why do we do what we do over here at Chiro Hustle? There's a few fundamentals. And I know Dr. Liam has been on the forefront of protecting the sacred trust for a long time. And but Chiro Hustle, we believe in freedom of speech. It's something that's so important to this profession and to humanity. And we also believe in family freedom and medical freedom. These are things that are fundamental to our human race. And then we also protect BJ Palmer's sacred trust. If you don't know what this means or any of the things I've mentioned up to this point, please go to your favorite search engine and look it up. Look up BJ Palmer's last words. Look it up. Look and see what the sacred trust really means. You'll know more about chiropractic than you ever thought you knew. And then lastly, we believe in subluxation-based chiropractic. Find it, fix it, leave it alone. Gonstead would say that. If you guys don't know who Clarence Gonstead is, brush yourself up and go find out who Clarence Gonstead is. And then we believe in innate intelligence and universal intelligence. If I cut my finger here, I don't have to tell my finger to heal. It heals on its own. Similar to a subluxation, once it gets corrected, you don't have to look at that person, tell them to heal or her to heal. She heals or he heals on their own. And we believe that once somebody gets adjusted, it connects man or woman to physical, to man or woman to spiritual. And with that being said, episode 470, let's hustle, Liam.
Here we go.
So,
get ready for takeoff, 5-point seatbelt.
All right. So Liam Schubel, we were just talking 25 offices across Peru, Dominican Republic, and now Bogota. I was like, why Latin America?
Well, it initially started out with this idea of, I'm from the People's Republic of New Jersey. And as a kid, I couldn't wait to get out of this place. It's funny because I'm back here again as a parent. But I couldn't wait to get out of here. I wanted to go south. I wanted the warm. And I wanted to be in Florida. And I fell in love with Atlanta, Georgia when I was there. And I said, let me just go even farther south. So I wanted to open up in Florida. I didn't really know anybody in that state. I was going to DE at the time, and I met a doctor called Dr. Walter Sanchez. And he said, look, if you want, you have to do a 3-month internship to sit for the exam. You could do that in my office, and you could go work for me down in Lima, Peru for a year. You'll come back, you'll get your hands on a ton of people, and you'll learn Spanish. And if you're in Southern Florida, that's a huge gift to know how to speak the 2 languages. I once did an experiment, James, where I went into Florida and I acted like I didn't speak English. I only spoke Spanish to people, and I had no problem. So I said, this is great. And I said, this is a once in a lifetime opportunity. I remember Dr. Sanchez brought me out on his boat. He was going to interview me for the job. And James, I get seasick. And I got so seasick on his boat. I'm throwing up and I'm just miserable. And I smell the diesel fumes and I'm saying, there is no way I'm going to get this job. He's saying, this guy doesn't have what it takes to go to Latin America. I mean, this is a time when Peru, for example, was having shining path guerrilla communist attacks in the government. It was just a disaster. And he's like, this, I'm thinking he's going to say, this guy is not for the position. So he tells me, you got the job after the day. I couldn't believe it. And I remember I went down to Lima, Peru. And I remember when I told everybody around me that my plan was to go to Lima, Peru, and I was excited about it. I had read the history of the Incas, and I couldn't wait to go see all the Machu Picchu and the jungle, the Peruvian jungle, and the Peruvian coast, and surf the waves there on the longest left-hand wave in the world. I was so excited about it, James. And I told all my family about it and all my friends. And you know what? Absolutely every single one of them. There was not one person who said that was a great idea. Everyone said, are you out of your mind? Are you crazy? And I have a joke that, like, I was crazy when I was poor. When I got wealthy, I started to become eccentric. That's the only difference between eccentric and crazy is your economic level. But I remember everybody said this is a bad idea. But I knew inside of me that this was a lifetime opportunity. And I really do remember, like, getting on that plane with all my belongings in the world, 2 suitcases, and they were basically, suitcases that had masking tape over them, duct tape to try to keep everything in. I remember just saying, this is either the biggest mistake, and they're right, this is the biggest mistake that I'm going to make in my life, or it's going to be one of the best things that's ever happened to me in my life. And I have to tell you, I was just talking today in a meeting with some of my staff in the Dominican Republic, on Zoom, and I'm just sitting there pinching myself. This is a dream life that I'm living. My friend David Serio says, Schubel, you live the dream life. You do what you want to do, what you love doing all the time. You travel all over the world talking about what you love to talk about. You develop these practices that optimize the human existence all throughout the world. And I have to tell you, I'm doing this 26 years now. I still feel like I'm just getting started. Like we have so much to do and so little time. And every day is this, some people have to wake up and say, how am I going to motivate myself? I have to say at night, how can I shut myself off? How am I going to go waste some time sleeping, which we know it's not a waste. It's very vital. It's important. But like, I can't even fathom people that say I'm bored. I'm bored. I don't think I've been bored since 1972, maybe, with maybe a toddler toy that I had at the time. I don't even have time to be bored. I just, there's always something to do. There's always more that you can give. There's always more love that you can give out. There's always more people that you can inspire. There's always more ways to serve. And that is the juice. That's the passion of life. And, that passion for your purpose, that's what fuels all the action that you take in life. Think about it. You have more of a tendency to take action when you're passionate and fired up about what it is that you're doing. And I've been blessed to be in this thing. I wrote a book called CAST to Be Chiropractors. Some people say, it's the end all be all mindset book for chiropractic success, because I truly believe that when you become on fire about this thing called chiropractic, everything else comes into your world. When you look at the universe, I mean, from the time I started my first practice, I just had 2 questions. And one of my mentors, Donnie Epstein, says that the quality of your questions will determine the quality of your life. I find that fascinating because the 2 questions that I've always had is, how can I serve more people? And how can I serve the people that I'm already serving better? That's my passion. How can I serve more people, and how can I serve them better? And when you keep asking those questions over and over, I took a 5-mile hike today, and that's on my mind. When I get in the shower and I run that hot water and I'm relaxing, that's on my mind. Before I go to bed at night, I'll give it up to the universe. That's on my mind. So if that's what you think about all the time, that's what you tend to bring about. And the more that you serve people and get them what it is that they want in life, they don't leave you high and dry. They start giving you what you want in life. And that's been, I think, the crux to my success, is that it's not about me. I don't make it about me. I don't wake up in the morning and go, oh, let's see, me, myself, or I. You know, we live in a world where there's this fake social media and everybody is, you know, posting a fake thing, and there's a lack of authenticity. And, you know, like for this interview, you know, let me put on my Schubel excited hat, you know, so I can talk to James and have him think I'm fired up about chiropractic. Oh my God, I got to do this interview, you know, behind the scenes. Oh, to my wife, oh, I got to do this interview. No. You talking about chiropractic? I am in. You know, the other day, just earlier today, somebody said, Doc, you know, it'd be a real honor. Would you mind? I know you're busy. Would you mind? No, I would not mind. I'm honored. And I can't wait to talk about the thing I love the most, which is chiropractic. And even the thing I love, I'd say, in addition to that, is chiropractic success. You know, people say, how do you stay on fire about chiropractic? Be successful at it. Watch how much fire you'll have in the office when that office is successful. But you got to develop what, you know, Dr. Sid Williams talked about, the founder of Life University. He used to talk about the dynamic essential. And that dynamic essential is, you think about it. You think about this in business. You know, we've all been to these businesses where you walk in and the person behind the counter or at the desk, they're dead, but nobody told them that they're dead yet. You know, they're passing the 6 or 8 hours, and they're at that job, James, thinking about what they're going to do when they're not at that job. They're at that job suffering so that someday, hopefully, they can do the things they truly love to do. And we in chiropractic are so blessed because we actually get to do the things we love to do. There's nothing better than watching somebody walk into your office who's depressed, frustrated. They've been cut on, they've been burned, they've been injected, they've been drugged, they've been told to shut up and sit down. Take this, take that, do this, do that. And they come into your office and you start telling them about chiropractic and you start adjusting those vertebral subluxations, and you start to watch the light bulb flip. You know, there's two things I love doing. And one, you know, one of them in chiropractic practice is obviously adjusting people. I could feel when I do that adjustment. I think we have this idea that person on the table, and it's an erroneous idea, that person on the table is different from me. He's another body, another human. Well, you know, you could say that biologically that might be true, but energetically, that person is you. You are adjusting yourself. We are all in this together. So I'm going to tell you, I saw when I was in active practice, I saw 1,000 visits a week. And people would say, oh my God, I'm exhausted after 50 in a day or 100 in a day. I'm going to tell you this, when you're seeing 200-300 in a day, you have energy coming out the wazoo. They're your only problem. I mean, I really do know how rock stars feel when they get off that stage and they can't go to bed. And I understand why they get into drugs and stuff to try to calm them down. Because when you're with that energy and you're part of that audience audience is part of you, it's so tough to get off stage and they go, oh, I'm just going to go to bed. Tomorrow's another day. That's how I would be when I'd come out of my chiropractic office. People would be like, you know, my assistants would be, Doc, you know, we saw 300 a day. Oh, we could have seen 301. You know, we got to get somebody else. We got to up our systems to see more. I had more and more energy because I found, and again, when you're sensitive to this, when I adjust somebody, like my daughter the other day, was expressing some symptoms. She said, Dad, can you check my spine? And as soon as I adjusted her atlas, I felt better. I mean, when you see your daughter suffering like that, you feel bad. And then when you adjust her and you feel that life force coming back in at 100%, you're like, I feel better. And I mean, by that night, I checked her again and she had just a little bit of a difference there and I adjusted her again. And by the next morning, she was 100% again. And that's, by the way, that to me is normal. And if you talk to parents who are chiropractors that have kids, that's normal. It's an absolute rarity when you have children and they're under chiropractic care. that they express symptomatology for more than 24 hours. I mean, it's like, your kid is expressing symptoms. Let's get them clear. Kids are healing freaking machines. You know what I mean? Like, all they need is to liberate that obstruction, and they are right on the money again. So, I mean, this is the kind of stuff. This is my life. This is what I see every single day. This is what I feel every single day. This is not an act. This is not something I got to put on. And this is, I got to tell you, this is another key, especially, I was almost going to go Spanish, especialmente, especially today, in a world of fake, phony frauds. Be an authentic person. Be an authentic person that truly, truly loves to detect, analyze, and adjust vertebral subluxation, and that practice member can feel that, and that they say, that practice member should be saying, man, I hit the lottery with this guy and this gal. I mean, I'm with somebody who's passionate about what they're doing. And James, I know you've seen it, right? You go into a coffee shop and they are passionate about what coffee they have. You know, oh, this is organic, and apes ate this and then defecated it out, and then we boiled it up, and then we, and they're telling you all about this. And this is, $5,000 a pound for this coffee grain, and it has 5,000 different aftertastes to it, and they'll tell you all about that. And you watch the passion when they're talking about freaking coffee. Like, that's what they're talking about. And here's the way we pour it, and here's the Italian machines that we use, and they're very. And like, then you talk to a chiropractor. Well, what do you do? Oh, I'm a chiropractor. It's like, what? You optimize the human expression. You allow the human experience to be improved. Wherever it is, you improve healing capability. You improve functioning capability. You improve adaptability. And we've seen in the past 2 years, especially, how important that adaptability is. In essence, you improve life expression. And you get to do that every single day. And I'm going to tell you, the more you get like this, as you can see I am already, people say, well, how am I going to get new patients? Start being like this. Start asking those 2 questions that we talked about. And you watch. People will say, what was it that you're doing over there again? Gosh. And I got to tell you, people will be thrilled to refer to you. Nobody invests in desperation. They invest in inspiration. So when they come into your office and they're inspired because they see the passion that you have to serve, this is not a job. This is not bone moving. This is not paper pushing. This is maximal life expression. And I say that, and then when I give that adjustment, wow, that was awesome. Phenomenal. That was great. What an adjustment. Oh, man, you are reconnected. I love it. That's called congruency with what's actually happening. Whereas you see a chiropractor, blonk, 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 Blue Cross Blue Shield, $75 a visit, blonk, blonk, blonk. Aetna, $35 a visit, blonk, blonk, blonk. Medicare, $25, whatever the deal. You can almost see in the physiology of those chiropractors that it's about the money, it's about the insurance reimbursement, it's about the pathology, it's about treating this. And you just see the passion being sucked out of the chiropractor. So many chiropractors got into this thing because they had a wonderful life experience with chiropractic, or they got into this thing because they wanted to help people. And somewhere along the way, they got off track. And it became about the money, or it became about the insurance, or it became about the billing, or about the note taking, and listen, all that stuff is important. But I'm going to tell you, you want to have more of the abundance, whether that be financial or life experience. Fall back in love with this thing. Fall back in love with this thing. I remember listening to Dr. Sid Williams, one of my mentors, and he used to talk about when he was in Palmer Chiropractic College, him, Dee Dee Umber, and Nell Williams, they were selling pots and pans door to door, the wherever cooking set, right? And they would go door to door, and this is where he got near perfect. He said, I developed near perfect there because he said, out in the Midwest, everybody was so drab. It was, how you doing? Not that bad, not too bad. It was like a negative, things, I'm okay, and so Sid would develop this near perfect thing. So Sid was trying to sell these pots and pans. It wasn't working. Nell was outselling him. I think Dee Umber was outselling him. And he couldn't figure out, Sid Williams. You look at Sid Williams, when he was at his peak, you go, I'd buy ice from him if I was an Eskimo, so he said that at one point he was selling the wherever cooking utensil set, and he kneeled down and his shoe exploded open. And he said, for something about that, it was like a pattern interrupt. And the way the light was hitting that wherever cooking set when he was in that position, he said, I fell in love with that wherever cooking set. And he says, I was looking at it and I couldn't break my gaze from these cooking utensils. And I almost didn't want to sell it anymore because I didn't want to give it away to this lady, something so valuable as these cooking utensils. And what he was basically saying with this story, James, was that when your nonverbal communication matches your verbal communication, you become unstoppable as a salesperson or as a person who convinces people or who persuades people. And that's what, you'll hear this a lot with chiropractors. Gosh, I just can't convince people. You know why? Because you're not convinced. When you are 100% convinced that this thing is the greatest gift known to man, it's called chiropractic. It reconnects the physical man to the spiritual man. When that is an absolute certainty, I don't adjust somebody and go, I hope this works. I adjust somebody and I go, yes, you are reconnected. I have a pre-check and I have a post-check. So I know that a vertebral subluxation is there, and now the vertebral subluxation is not there. And I know from personal experience with my family, from experience with my my practice members, from experience with everybody all over the world, and the scientific studies that support it, that when you are unsubluxated, your life's better. I don't know how to quantify that specifically for you, but I know that you are better off whether you got moth-eaten alopecia, lymphogranuloma inguinale, or gout. You're better off without a subluxation on top of that. I don't know if those three conditions are going to cure themselves. I don't know. I know that your body has an amazing potential to heal itself. But I know this, with a vertebral subluxation, the dimmer switch is on. Without the vertebral subluxation, the dimmer switch is off. My job is done because innate intelligence is a badass. I just let that thing do its work. And, one of the challenges I used to have, James, was when I was going into, once you get experience seeing 1,000 people a week. And by the way, my waiting room was like an emergency room. I mean, most of the people in my clinic would be referred out of a chiropractic college clinic. It would be like, forget it, can't take care of this person. So I would see these wild cases getting better that somebody would come into me with headaches and they were really worried about their headaches or their migraines. But my physiology, my nonverbal communication was like, hey, no big deal, right? Don't worry, you came to the right place, because I had seen so many great things happen. I knew their life was going to be better. And most likely those headaches were going to go away. I knew that. But the challenge with that, acting that way in the first visit, I was sending out a message unconsciously that what you have is not serious, that what you have is not a concern, that what you have has no sense of urgency. And when you lose urgency and seriousness, especially with a practice member who first comes into your practice, you're probably going to lose that practice member. You've got to, your challenge when they first come in, you really got to get them on board with the idea that a vertebral subluxation, which is something they probably never heard of, that's been the missing link to them expressing their lives optimally. Because once they get that, whether the pain is there or the pain is not there, whether the symptom is there or the symptom is not there, whether the disease is there or the disease is not there, should they be in your office? 100% yes. Why? Because they will express their lives optimally, with or without the symptom, with or without the pain, with or without the disease process. And once we know that, people say, Sometimes I've had people, I went to a chiropractor. I had low back pain. It didn't get better. So why are you not going now? Well, what do you mean? Why am I not going now? My pain didn't get better. Yeah, I understood that. Why? What? You want to stay? You want to continue with obstruction to your nerve system? How is that beneficial to you at all? Like, I don't understand what you're saying here. Like, I went to the nutritionist and I asked him to take care of my back pain, and my back pain didn't go away. So I stopped eating nutritious foods. Now I'm eating McDonald's all the time. What kind of sense does that make?
So there's this time, Liam, I saw you speaking at an event. I've probably seen you speak more than anybody else in the chiropractic circuit. And I've been to a lot of chiropractic events. I probably hold some type of title for the most chiropractic events attended besides you over the past 5 years. And I saw you speak one time about this incident that happened early on in your career down in Peru where there was an emergency. And I love this story so much. And I think that, you sharing that would give people a sense of urgency and seriousness, a little bit more of a dose of who Liam Schubel really is and why he's perpetuating chiropractic around the world and really supporting this profession, not only up here stateside, but you said recently you've been to Argentina. You're supporting the movement of chiropractic growth down in Mexico. There's movements in, you said Brazil, and down in, right outside of Peru is
Chile.
Chile. And you said that the Latin America thing is really a buzz, and you're looking to go and plant new seeds and see chiropractic grow globally. But I think this one story has a lot to say about why you're on that mission.
Well, thanks, James. Again, with our mission, there is a seriousness to our mission because, I was talking to my staff today in the Dominican Republic, and I said, there's people in 2022 that never got the message of chiropractic, and they're dead as a result of that right now. They died this year. They're no longer with us because they didn't get the message out. And to a certain sense, that's our fault. There are people that are going to be paralyzed for the rest of their life because of decisions that they made in 2022 because they didn't know about us. That's on me. There are people that are giving drugs to their kids. They are taking drugs themselves that are creating other disease processes in their body because they don't know about chiropractic. That's my fault. That's every chiropractor's fault. We've been blessed by this thing called chiropractic. And my dad used to say to me, well, you've been really blessed being a chiropractor. I busted my hump to get you through chiropractic college. But let me tell you something. When you've been blessed, you have a moral obligation to get those blessings out to the world. And that's how I feel about chiropractic. And that's why I'm pushing so much in Latin America, because I know that people are dying. People are being injected. People are being drugged on. People are being paralyzed because our message is not fully developed out in Latin America. And I see Miguel Guevara is on right now, and I want to give a shout out to him. He's one of the crucial players in Latin America, to get that message out to the world. And certainly your vision with chirohustle and then doing it in Spanish, is helping to get that message out to the world, and it's saving lives. It's optimizing lives. And we have to be cognizant of that. So the story that you're talking about, what some people would say the miracle story, I always say it's just physiology expressing itself optimally once the vertebral subluxation has been taken care of. I'm down in Lima, Peru. It's probably 1997, 1998. And I'm a young practitioner. I'm single. I'm going out on the town. Oh my goodness, do they have a nightlife there? I remember when I first arrived in Peru, it was a Sunday morning at 6 a.m. And the restaurants on the ride from the airport back to where I was living that were packed, James. I'm like, wow, these people are passionate about breakfast. They get up early to go to breakfast. This is amazing. Naive gringo here. And what I realized was that they were all just getting out of the discotheque and having something to eat to sop up the alcohol before they went home. So, wherever I'm at, I try to adapt to the environment. So I was going out, and I like to dance. I was out dancing all evening, and I think I got home 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning to where I was living. This is on a Sunday morning, right? I didn't have to take care of people that day. And when I get to the door, there's an ambulance at the door. And, I had a domestic servant, a maid there. And I was worried. I said, "Oh my God, something happened to her," And I get to the door, and a guy comes out of the ambulance. He goes, "Are you Dr. Schubel?" I said, yes, I am. And he says, "We just drove all night from a place called Huancayo. It's about an 8-hour drive over the Andes Mountains. This guy in the ambulance was drinking last night. He fell off the 3rd floor roof and fractured his spine, and he went to the hospital, and they said he needed to be operated on immediately, or he'd never walk again, or maybe he'd probably not walk again, but he needed to be operated on."
You've made it to Chiro Hustle. Sit back and learn from the greatest influencers in the profession on the world's #1 chiropractic podcast. This episode is sponsored by Imaging Services, Chiro Health U.S.A, Chiro Moguls, Pure Chiro Notes, Titronics, Sherman College of Chiropractic, New Patients in a Box, the Influencer Authority Podcast Training, Mango Voice, Life Chiropractic College West, and M-Sculpt. Let's hustle.
But a woman, Maria Ames, in Huancayo, had her life saved from surgery because of you, and she recommended this guy to you. So he insisted that we drive the ambulance over the Andes Mountains to here so that you could take care of him. So can you imagine, James? I've been out all night, right? I'm probably not at my optimum, but what am I going to do? So I said, "Okay, bring him in." And they brought him in on a stretcher, and I got him x-rayed. And we found that the Atlas was probably in Cleveland, even though we were in Lima, Peru. And I said, "Listen, buddy, here's the story. You've got amazing pressure on the brainstem." He's showing me MRIs. He's showing me all these, burst fractures throughout his spine and everything. I said, "Look, all that's there. There's no question. But here's what you have in your upper cervical region, and that's the fountain of your life. So let's get that thing connected." And I toggled his Atlas, boy, and I got to tell you, his pupils and his eyes were going ding, 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 ding. It was like snake eyes, ding, 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 ding. And I got to tell you, they put him back on the stretcher. He came out. Same next day, he did the same. I said, "I want to see you every day." And I saw him every single day. And I think in 3-4 days, he's in a wheelchair. In a week or 2, he's walking with help. And then, James, like so many chiropractors, I didn't see him. And, you think negatively, when somebody stops coming in, a patient, you go, they didn't get the results they wanted,
It didn't work, and they don't like me.
They weren't happy.
They didn't like me. They spent their money, and I didn't take care of them right.
That's right. So anyway, on to the next. Well, a few years ago, it's been over 20 years, I come back to Lima, Peru. I'm living now in New Jersey, People's Republic here. And I go down to visit Peru every once in a while. And I love seeing all the old patients. And I go into the office, and there's a guy in there smiling from ear to ear. And he's staring at me, and he's smiling. And sitting with him is a little boy. And he says, "Do you know who I am?" And I hate this, James, when someone says that, because everybody's important to me. But I do forget names and faces and things like that. And so I just said, I apologize. No, I don't recall who you are. So he tells me the story of 20-something years ago, that he was that guy. And he says, "They told me I would never walk again. and that I needed an operation. And he said, I want to introduce you to somebody. He says, they also told me I'd never have kids again, or I'd never have kids. Right? I want to introduce you to somebody. This is my son, Liam Jr. I mean, that if that was the only thing I ever did in my life, was it worth it? Was my existence here worth it? And I got to tell you, doctors of chiropractic, there are so many people. Imagine, by the way, if I never ran into that guy, I'd still be thinking, James, that guy was unhappy with my care, and this wouldn't be a good story. I mean, it's like, well, the guy came, I adjusted him and nothing happened. Yeah, he was walking a little bit better, but the guy was able to have children because we were able to explain to him the principle of chiropractic, and we were able to give him a scientific, specific chiropractic adjustment. I wasn't treating his back pain or his spinal fractures. I was correcting a vertebral subluxation that was squeezing on his brainstem and limiting his capacity to heal, to function, to adapt, and to express his life. And because I was the right man in the right place at the right time with the right knowledge and know-how, the world changed. And it changed for him, and it changed for his son, and for his wife, and for everybody that they're going to touch in the future. You never know. They might be a chiropractor in the future. But you really do. You never know how far-reaching something you think, say, or do today is going to affect the lives of billions tomorrow. It's just such a big idea. It's such a big idea. It's bigger than even the words that we use to express it. And the more you fall in love with this thing, the more you adore the greatness of it, the more you admire it, like Sid Williams was admiring the cooking pot, the wherever cooking utensils. The more you have an understanding that it truly is, not just in words, it truly is a sacred trust that we've been handled, and that we have a great blessing to know this, but we also have a great responsibility and a moral obligation to get that message out to the world. So often we get in these pity parties and, oh, woe is me, and oh, poor was me. I got to tell you, another thing that Sid Williams told us, that when he was in a Great Depression, his clinics were burned down, his school was failing. He said, the way I got out of the depression, he goes, I couldn't even get out of bed. And he goes, a friend of mine said, go out there and serve. You want to get out of the depression? Go out and serve. Donnie Epstein says, you know what the cure to depression is? Do shit. Go out there and do something. And I got to tell you, what we do optimizes human existence, and we can't even monetize it. We can't even put a price on it. The monetization of chiropractic, we do that because, of course, in order to keep the doors open, you have to have a monetization. But do you think what I charged that man back in Peru in 1997 or 1980, do you think whatever I charged him, do you think that was the equivalent of what he received in his life? How do you put a price on that? So we just got to be thankful, and we got to fall back in love. For those of us who are not in love with it, or have fallen out of love with it, or have gotten distracted, we all get there. Life has a way of distracting you on sometimes what the true important things are in life. We fall back in love with this, and you watch, everything in your life will start to change around you. Change you, and everything around you will change. Change you, and everything around you will change.
I love it
Fall
so
in
much,
love with
Liam.
serving.
I love it so much. I didn't even get a chance to ask you nine out of the 10 questions I had for you. But I am interested. I know that we're at a change of the guard. You're talking change. We're having a change of the guard at the center of the chiropractic universe, Sherman College of Chiropractic out in Spartanburg, South Carolina. And we've just passed the tenure of Edwin Cordero. Now we're in the era of our good friend Jack Borla. And I remember the first time I met both of you. It was 8 years ago now, Liam. 8 years ago, I'm wandering around Mile High Chiropractic event and outside of Boulder. I think it was Westminster, Colorado, or something. And I'm out there with my partner Luke, and I'm bumping around and saying, "Hey, who wants to do an interview for this movie I'm making?" And I'm going to create something really special for the chiropractic world. And I was like, who are the best people here to get? And Danny Knowles keeps on like vouching for me. He's like, "Hey, go talk to this guy, do a quick interview with him." And he bumps me into you and Jack. And just to see like where you've gone in the past 8 years since I've gotten a chance to like first like meet you. And now like, I was just joking around. I think I've had you on like at least 10 interviews over the past 8 years, and in a movie and in a second movie. You just blessed my life so much. And I'm just curious, like we're going into the next chapter. Like what's the next chapter? Like the new leadership in chiropractic. I know that Jack's there, but who else is helping us? Who else is going to help take us?
Yeah, first of all, I'd like to say thank you for everything you said. And I'd say it's vice versa. The feeling is mutual. I will say this, that Dr. Edwin Cordero was crucial. When I first came on the Sherman board, I served on the Board of Trustees for 8 years. When I first came on that board, Sherman was making a plan to shut down. And I think one of the best moves we made was hiring Dr. Edwin Cordero. He took that school from getting ready to be closed up to being the premier chiropractic college, really the Ivy League chiropractic college. Yeah, sure, there's chiropractic colleges that are bigger, they're more well-known, but there's nobody that can question that Sherman College of Chiropractic is the elite. That's the highest level of chiropractic education in the United States of America. So Dr. Cordero has done a phenomenal job. And then, Dr. Jack Borla was amazing because, there was a lot of candidates, a lot of very good candidates that applied to be president of Sherman College of Chiropractic. I knew in my heart of hearts that Jack was the man. I've worked in chiropractic education. Serving on the board for 8 years. I know what it takes to be a great chiropractic college president, and Jack embodies that and even more. So I'm very excited about the future of chiropractic with Dr. Jack Borla at the head of Sherman College of Chiropractic, because I think what we're going to do is it's a reignition of what is great, and we're going to start looking, I think, at what some of the systems that are being used at Sherman College and see how we can develop better systems to, once again, serve more people and serve the people that we're serving even better. So I think Dr. Jack Borla is going to bring a lot of knowledge, and he's not an ego guy. He is a guy that recognizes the way to be successful is use the power of the mastermind. A mastermind is a group of highly unique individuals. Nobody duplicates the other person's unique talent, but they all share a common mission and a vision. And that is gigantic. And so I see like the Sherman College board over there is filled with superstars. You got Dr. Frankie Hahn, Dr. Sean Dill, Dr. Matthew McCoy. It's loaded with superheroes over there. And they are working hard every single day, and they are thinking about how can they get more chiropractic to more people, and how can they grow that school, and that's going to be the vehicle for them to do it. On the political scale, I'm very happy with Dr. Grant Dennis. When I was the president of the IFCO, I also brought that institution, the International Federation of Chiropractors and Organizations, I brought that to the highest level it's ever been. And I was happy to pass that off to Dr. Grant Dennis. He's doing a phenomenal job. I know we have an IFCO summit coming up in 2023 in Mexico. Who would ever thought now? We're very aligned with some of the schools there. And we're just making inroads into the profession. While we see, the other organizations focusing more on themselves and more on their ego, the IFCO just keeps focusing on freedom. And I love the opening of your talk saying, we support freedom. And that's what the IFCO is about. It's not about, limiting chiropractors' practice. It's not about bringing chiropractors. I see so many countries now James, that in my view have been maligned by national political organizations in chiropractic, that because of the laws they've passed, you can only have 12 chiropractors for the entire country, or 15 chiropractors for the entire country. And I see the country has 70 million people. And these guys have just done something to me that's morally reprehensible. And the IFCO is working on trying to reverse those things and bringing laws into the countries that allow competition, that allow more chiropractors. More chiropractors is better for a country, not less. So these are the kind of things that I see on the international scale, that why we need to be involved in politics. And I think for those of you who are watching, I know a lot of you probably have never even heard of the International Federation of Chiropractors and Organizations, the IFCO, and say, why should I get involved in politics? And whether that's chiropractic politics or any type of politics, I think it's been made abundantly clear to us by the, quote, pandemic, that politics can take away everything that you love on the earth. So being involved in politics is vital to your existence and your optimal life expression on this planet. So I would suggest to people that are watching this, get involved in the IFCO, the International Federation of Chiropractors and Organizations. Check that out. So, yeah, and I would say also get involved in chiropractic education. Get involved in Sherman College. Sherman College has a Regent program where you can give of your finances. And it also has a referral program, and it has it has a Lyceum. Sherman Lyceum's coming up this year in the May. These are all opportunities. Listen to me. We just had our 4,000 graduate number 4,000 at Sherman College in, I don't know how many years. We're coming up on 50 years. 4,000 graduates. That's not that many. If you think about it, for over 50 years. What kind of graduate do you want coming into your community? Because they're going to come into your community. Would you rather have a Sherman graduate that understands who they are, what they do, and why? They understand the value and the significance of detection, analysis, and correction of vertebral subluxation, that service? Or do you want somebody that's coming into your community that thinks that chiropractic is just for back pain and neck pain, and that, if you are doing vertebral subluxation correction, you're a charlatan, and you should probably have your license taken away from you? Again, these people can get into power, and they can take away everything that you love in chiropractic. So you should be involved right now in chiropractic education, fomenting those programs of chiropractic education that are going to be beneficial to you, to your profession, to your community, and be involved in chiropractic politics, the IFCO. And I would say research as well. The Journal for Vertebral Subluxation Research, the JVSR, absolutely phenomenal. I think every chiropractor should subscribe to it, because, again, it just shows you every single week, oh my goodness, there is a plethora of chiropractic science that is being studied. Science that continue to prove that what we do is freaking awesome. And we need more of it. And we need more research. And I'm thankful for people like Dr. Christopher Kent and Dr. Matthew McCoy and Dr. Christy Kwan, that are involved in these research projects. But, they're like anybody else. They need finances. So, this is what I call, if you want to get more out of life, you really got to look at, how can I give? And start out even at a low level, just giving a little bit. I'll never forget Dr. Jake Hansen. I was at a Mile High, and he came up to me, and man, he was broken and he was battered and he was about to go bankrupt. And he took like his last $100 almost and became a roar doc. It's a reach out and recruit, a region. I'm sorry, became a financial donor because I said to from the stage. And then he signed up for my mentoring program. And within a year, he was taking vacations. He was, 2-3 weeks, 4-week vacations. He was living in abundance. But he did it for the right reasons, and this is the thing. We always look to get. Sometimes we got to look to give. And we have to get to a point where we say, okay, listen, I'm down, I'm out. I'm not the first person that's ever been down and out. Let me look for somebody that's been where I'm at and let me not reinvent the wheel and bang my head against the wall for the next 20 years. Let me learn from their experience and their understanding. And I'd say that's the fourth part. I would say if you want to be, a chiropractor that's truly living and enjoying it and truly making a difference, you got to get involved in chiropractic politics, and by the way, even if it's just a small financial donation, you don't want to get involved doing stuff. Chiropractic politics, chiropractic education, chiropractic research, and I really feel that you should be in some type of mentorship program so that you can learn how to develop your systems, your business systems. And I often say, James, we talk about in chiropractic that chiropractic is a three-legged stool. We have the chiropractic science, philosophy, and art. I got to tell you, each of those individually is fantastic, but they won't necessarily grow your practice and put you on a situation of financial abundance if you don't have the business systems down. And that's an area where chiropractors don't like to talk about, but it's crucially vital. What value are you if the doors are shut down? If you can't serve people because you can't make enough money to do so, what value are you as a chiropractor? And so I say that chiropractic really should be a four-legged chair, and it should be science, philosophy, art, and business systems. We get all of those four in alignment, you become absolutely unstoppable as a practitioner. And I've used these business systems that I teach in the Schübel Vision Elite program. I've used them not only with chiropractors, I've used them with dentists, with attorneys. These business systems work in no matter what service industry you're in, and frankly, no matter what industry you're in, period. The biggest book, James, that I read that changed my life, I was seeing 1,000 visits a week. I opened up another clinic, my second clinic, and I thought, gosh, it must be because I'm in an area where there's no chiropractic, these people are specifically non-intelligent, or whatever the ideas that people have. Because some people think, oh, you're just doing well because there's no competition, or you're just doing well because of this or because of that, the economy, blah, blah, blah. James, I brought one doctor down, he failed. I brought another doctor down, he failed. I brought another doctor down, he failed. And I was like, what the heck is going on? And you know why they failed? Because they couldn't be me. They could not be me. I had a personality-driven practice. And so many docs out there have a personality-driven practice because they've never been shown business systems. And I read a book called The E-Myth by Michael Gerber, and that changed my life entirely. From that point on, I read that book. Let's say I was 2 years out in practice. I read that book. I was probably 28 years old. By the time I was 30, I never had to work again for finances. I never had to work again for finances. I love working, but I don't do it for finances. And we make a lot of finances, but I don't do it for that. The E-Myth changed my life. And so what I did was I wrote a second book. My first one was CAST to Be Chiropractors. That was about the mindset of a successful chiropractic practice. But I realized that mindset's not everything, right? You can be psyched and spizzed about everything on Monday morning, but if you're using the same crappy business systems, you're going to go downhill, and you're going to need another seminar outside in to pump you up. I wrote this book, Schubel's Holy Grail of Business. This book is the business systems and the Schübel Vision Elite program that we do online. I love it. It's online. So you do as much or as little as you want whenever you want to do it. I'm not sitting there babysitting you, but it's all there. And I'm there, and you have access to me, and we can talk at any time in the Schübel Vision Elite program. And I just watched people like Jake Hansen, Dr. Jake Hansen, totally transform his life. And now I love seeing he's helping other people. He's mentoring and coaching chiropractors around the world. This is what it's all about. It's just abundance on top of abundance. Think and Grow Rich, the book Think and Grow Rich, Napoleon Hill says, the world is abundant. You can have anything you want in this world, but you got to ask yourself two questions. First, what specifically do I want? Second, and this is the big one, what am I willing to sacrifice to get what it is that I want? Everybody wants something, but you got to ask yourself, what am I willing to give? What am I willing to sacrifice to get what it is that I want? But listen, take that first step. We're right. Jim, I was thinking about this. What a great time to have an interview with me, because we're right at the end of the year. This is when people are saying, I've had enough. I want something better. I deserve something better for 2023. Well, we've given you the layout, the blueprint for that. The question is, are you going to take action? And James, thanks for providing the platform for people to get that information.
Well, it's something I love. And any chance I get to have you on a platform with me, it shows a congruent message. And I think it was Napoleon Hill also said this, that if you give everyone what they ever wanted, you'll never have to ask for anything. And I think it was Sid Williams that said, give for the sake of giving, love for the sake of loving, serve for the sake of serving, out of your own abundance, expecting nothing in return. And, to add eloquence to everything that you say, I actually enjoy the interviews with you because you give me a chance to just listen and learn. And so many times I feel like I'm steering the ship with my hands, my feet, and my eyes. And every aspect of my ability has to be put into making sure that the process goes the way to give good content to people. And after 1,100 interviews over the past 5 years, I've realized that it's always a pleasure to have you on the show because I don't have to be the captain, and I can co-pilot with you, and it's really nice. So thank you.
Thanks, James. That's a huge compliment, and I know it comes from your heart. I very much appreciate you saying that. Thank you.
Yeah. So at the end of this, if people wanted to work with Schübel and Schübel Vision Elite, or they want to get your books, what are some assets and places we can send people?
Right. So you can get CAST to Be Chiropractors. That's the mindset book, Chiropractic Successful Mindset. I'm telling you, you want to light yourself on fire, read that book. And Schubel's Holy Grail of Business. This is the why to successful. This is the how to successful. Schubel's Holy Grail of Business. That they're both available on Amazon. And if you'd like to mentor with our program, we mentor with people all around the world. You can go online, SchubelVisionElite.com. Spelling of my last name is Schubel. SchubelVisionElite.com. And I think we're actually going to be raising the rates in the 1st of January. So now would be a really good time if you want to pull the trigger on it. You'd be getting in at 2022 rates. It certainly would be a wise investment for you and your community, your office, your family for 2023, and it'd be a great honor and a pleasure to work with you. I love watching chiropractors that they have it all inside. It's all there. They got everything they need to be successful. It's inside. It's an inside-out game. They just need to be guided and adjusted to move to the right direction. And that's all it is. Listen, we see this every day of the week. We see these type of people that are broken, they're battered in practice, they've lost their excitement. They can't figure out how to get out of whatever quagmire they're in. And I got to tell you, some of the most successful people in the world, the first thing I ever do, James, it was interesting what you said, that co-pilot comment and that listening. You know, when I go into any meeting with my staff, the first thing I do is ask questions and listen. I don't pontificate. I listen. What are their challenges? What are the things that they need? And then I start to open up and share. But I want to know where they're coming from first. And that's what we do with the chiropractors that are in our mentorship. What's important to you? Where do you want to go? What are your challenges? What's holding you back? Okay, great. We've seen it all before. Let's go to brass tacks and let's develop what we call the 5 core fundamental elements of business systems. And once you get those in place, it's set it and forget it. What people don't realize is that chiropractic and the practice of chiropractic should be simple. It should be easy to be successful. And it is, if you have this business systems down. But if you've never been introduced to those business systems, if you're operating from a personality-driven practice, if you're just doing it because, I don't know, that's how we've always been doing it, well, then, of course, that's the situation you're in right now. So for 2023, how about we do something different to get a different result? And I would implore you to invest in yourself for 2023 because you do have it inside. You just got to get it out, and we can help you.
Yeah, DeMartini once told me that No one's going to do it for you. No one's going to give you permission to be great. That's up to you. And what I've kind of turned that into is no one will do your push-ups for you either. You got to do those for yourself. So if you're going to be successful, you got to figure that out. But it's great to have a coach. It's great to have mentorship. And it's great to have people be able to see your blind spots for you and help you work on those, because Lord knows we all have them. And I think that it's a blessing to have a mastermind like you mentioned earlier. It's important to have people to have resource with and to be able to share some of your wounds and get patched up, because none of us are walking around fully, complete. We all need people to look out for us. So I think it's a really good option for people to take for themselves going into 23. And the greatest investment, I think Warren Buffett said it, is invest in yourself. And, I don't know how much billions of money that guy has, but probably trillions by this point. But I think that it's wise advice. Invest in yourself.
It's interesting you say that. Dr. B.J. Palmer also had a saying. They asked him in an interview one time, you're so wealthy. Why aren't you in stocks and bonds and all this? He says, I don't understand it and I can't control it. He goes, I understand myself, I understand chiropractic, and I can control it. So that's what I reinvest back into. And you think about what the world would have been like if B.J. Palmer had taken his wealth from radio and eventually television and not investing it back into chiropractic. It's just so amazing.
Well, Liam, thank you for being on with me. This is episode 470 of the Chiro Hustle podcast. It's been my pleasure tonight.
James, it's always a pleasure to talk with you. And again, thank you for everything that you do for chiropractic. I so appreciate the passion you have for chiropractic. And again, you are changing lives. And I hope that you know that you change lives every single day. And this message is going to change more lives. And that in the end is all that's going to be important when the sum of our lives are totaled.
Well, Dr. Liam Schubel, until next time, my friend, have a beautiful night.
You too, my friend.
Bye for now. Thanks for listening to Chiro Hustle. Don't forget to subscribe and check back next week to continue hustling.